And welcome to Down with the Browns. And welcome back to another episode of Down with the Browns. You're here with your hosts, Christian, Manny Maxwell, and Mac the Buffalo.
What's up?
What's up? Yes, sir.
So, since the last time we talked on this podcast, a lot of things have happened. Like a lot. Like stuff I didn't even see happening at all.
Well, let's run through the transaction wire here.
Let's go.
Before we get into the
deep end of it.
The deep abyss that is Cleveland Browns right now.
Absolutely. I'll start off with one. So the Cleveland Browns have released tight end Austin Hooper. And so over his little stint 2 seasons with Cleveland, he's had 84 receptions and 780 yards with 7 touchdowns. But they terminated the contract for post June 1st designation. So, you know, he joined the Browns back as an unrestricted free agent back in 2020. So I think he was an acquisition that we thought we were going to get a lot out of from the tight end position because honestly, Kevin Stefanski loves his tight ends, and we all know that. Had a great stint with Atlanta and was a Pro Bowl tight end, but obviously, I think it was just not a good fit. It was one of those situations where you just say not a good fit. I mean, he did not live up to his expectations, caught the ball a lot, went straight to the ground. You know, it's little things like that added up, and we were like, you know what, you're just really not worth the money that we were paying you. It was more of an expensive contract to begin with, so the writing was on the wall for Austin Hooper, which is unfortunate. But at the same time, you know, you were kind of like a product of your environment with Julio Jones and Calvin Ridley budding. So. In Atlanta. So I think that's one of the things that really caught our front office's eye when it came to bringing you in as an unrestricted free agent. So, you know, our stint with Austin Hooper is done, and I know a lot of people are happy about that in the Twitter spaces, but
old stone hands.
So
I mean, six drops in 2021, and it's not even, for me, it wasn't even about the money. It was just purely about target share. I mean, you can't have a guy that, you know, has the least amount of production that he does, and he's extremely low in yards after catch, and to make him the number 2 in targets on the team. So it's just, you know, you just paid Njoku this franchise tag, and you obviously you want to get a deal done long term. So why not put Njoku in a position to where he can get more targets and you can see that explosiveness down the field?
That's your boy, Dave Njoku. Bring him up to T1.
So did I see this on Twitter? Like he actually became a chief. Like, did you guys see that tweet?
I did not.
He was, I forget which country he was in.
Like it was his family's like original.
Yes,
like
correct.
Origin country, I guess you would, home country. That's pretty. I think that's pretty interesting. But yeah, I really like the Chief. I want to see some more Chief slams.
After that big play versus the Los Angeles Chargers, that big touchdown play, I was like, oh man, this guy. That's when I really.
And you know what's the crazy part about it is? So since that Chargers game, he's never gotten more than 5 targets per game.
It's insane. It's insane. And I started him in fantasy that day, so that was great. That was
good move.
Absolutely. So definitely the release of Austin Hooper, and we also released the NFL Player Association Presidente J.C. Tretter. How do you guys feel about that release? Was the writing on the wall? What do you guys think? Give me some thoughts on that.
With the cap hit, and you know, I don't think the cap hit was that large compared to what we were just going to have to pay him rolling over into the next season. Plus, we got to see Nick Harris ball out on Christmas Day.
Nick Harris.
And that was maybe the Christmas present we needed for this season, a little bit early, you know. Saving the money. We've got a good center. Bill Callahan best offensive line coach probably ever. And, he's always had the eye out for him. That's why we got him in the draft. So it's their homegrown boys,
It is great to see Nick Harris be able to get a chance. So Mac, what do you feel about that release?
So I like this on a lot of levels. I mean, third round 2020, this was the plan all along, right? He was J.C. Tretter's replacement. Over the past 2 years, Jeff Lloyd brought this up. Nathan Zagura talked about it so many times on Cleveland Browns Daily. Mm-hmm. J.C. Tretter, now granted, he's there in the walkthroughs, but he hasn't done a padded practice in, I'm talking possible years. He's at that age, and it was the same thing with Joe Thomas. You let the guy come in. You don't want to put too much wear and tear on his body because he's already had this and that. I don't know how many injuries that he's played through at Cleveland, and he just doesn't have the miles on his legs anymore to run this kind of zone scheme that we do. We require our centers to be able to pull out in front, to be able to get next level on these linebackers. So Nick Harris, who's a little bit smaller build, he's kind of a lot like Jason Kelsey, a little bit undersized, but his quickness makes up for it because you don't have to be strong if you can simply cut your guy off and just get in the way, because blocking in its purest form is just simply getting in the way. And I mean, that's $8 million that you're saving yourself there. You had to figure out one way or another if Nick Harris was the guy. And the whole thing with J.C. Tretter skipping, I shouldn't say skipping all these practices, he was present, but him not fully participating, is that all those reps go to Nick Harris. Yeah. Which explains why he balled out on Christmas Day. And that was not against just any defensive tackle. That's Kenny Clark, one of the league's best. So absolutely excited to see what Nick Harris can do for the Orange Brown next season. Yeah, and he's also got the moves, man. I mean, the infamous gif for Jeff, however you want to say it. That false start.
Where they touch him, he just flies back and he goes. Yeah, has the gun fingers. Oh, dude,
that. I still remember when he was drafted, and then because I had saw that because that was a huge gif and it blew up, and then nobody knew who this dude was, and then he got drafted by the Browns, and then that tweet blew up again, and I don't know, it's cool that he has he had that kind of internet famousness. Yeah. But yeah, no, I'm definitely excited to see him play next year. I think that he will be just, I shouldn't say good enough, but I think he'll play well next year.
I don't think you're going to be missing a step.
Correct.
No, not at all. And another acquisition that the Browns got was the punt returner from the Chicago Bears, Jakeem Grant. He is 5'7", age 29, from Texas Tech University. He's a Pro Bowl punt returner, so that's going to help out Cleveland big time. It's and Cleveland has a great history of punt returners from your Josh Cribbs, your Eric Metcalfs, your Bobby Mitchells, and it's going to be a great help because the Browns were almost rock bottom in 2020 for ranking 31st with a 4.8 yard average per return. And so bringing in Jakeem Grant of a 10.3 yards per return for his career is going to help out the punt returns, help a lot for the Cleveland Browns. And also we re-signed tackle Chris Hubbard. How do you guys feel about Chris Hubbard? Having Chris Hubbard back for another go around?
So Chris Hubbard, I really like him. I was really kind of sad to hear about his season ending extremely early last year. And the thing is, you look at the tackle room, and even with Chris Hubbard, hopefully he's been rehabilitated. I can't say enough about the person. He's always active on Twitter. He's very, he's super cool around the fans. Yeah. You do worry about his health though. Yeah. This isn't the first big injury that he's had. You look at the right tackle who he would be backing up and is the reason why, we had so many issues last year. Jack Conklin, a guy that hasn't played 16 games. So you need that kind of backup behind him. And now if you look at the other side here, you have Jed Wills, who also had injury problems last year. So I think what they wanted to do is get away from Blake Hance having to play tackle, and they want to stick with, Chris Hubbard and their development of rookie, who is now going into his second year now, James Hudson. So I think it was a really smart move. That way you don't have to prioritize tackle depth in the draft. You can find a developmental piece that you like, or just a guy that kind of sticks out to you. So definitely great job bringing him back, and hopefully he's healthy next year.
Yeah, and I really like the re-signing. We really did need that depth, because I don't want to ever see Blake Hentz playing right tackle again. Love the guy. He's a really good backup guard, but don't ever put him back in the tackle position again. I don't think he's big enough to play it, because you need your bigger dudes playing tackles. And,
absolutely.
But you do, really do. And just, fast forwarding and just a little bit for two more transactions that we have. We re-signed linebacker Anthony Walker Jr. We're going to get a walk back, number 4, rocking the number 4 jersey for the Browns. He's a big piece. Fours up for that big piece guy, 6'1", 26 years old. So I'm so glad that he's back, and he's going to resign with the Cleveland Browns for a 1-year, $5 million deal. And he's one of the starters for the Browns, so it's great to retain as many starters as possible.
Oh, yeah. I like to keep the consistency. But, there's one position. It's not looking like it's going to be pretty consistent going into the 2022 season. Yep. And that is the quarterback position. We kind of thought we had that figured out this time last year. I mean, it's sad to say. A lot of stuff's went down since the last podcast involving the quarterback position. And, we were clowning on the Deshaun Watson stuff pretty hard. And then the next day we find out the Browns are going to go actually talk to Watson. And it just caused a big uproar on Twitter. And then we get it looked like a Baker Mayfield, thank you, Cleveland. He was already gone off the roster. And, the adult thing came out that the Browns are wanting an adult to play quarterback, and then they're talking to Deshaun Watson. It's been a wild past 4 days.
It has been a lot, and that I don't know. I feel there's a lot of emotions that go into a situation like this. I mean, even Chris Mortensen reported from ESPN and said, quote, just now on the Browns wanting a, quote, an adult, unquote, at quarterback. I'm not going to say who told me that, but that was the exact words that were used, unquote. So, Chris Mortensen also added that other people in the Browns building have since disputed that would be their characterization of Baker Mayfield. So in every sense of the word, it's turning into a circus. I mean, there's reports coming out left and right, and we've seen Baker Mayfield release a letter just in stating that he loves the city of Cleveland, and his wife Emily have made it their home and things like that. And so I just kind of want to ask you, Matt, what you feel about some of the things that are going on, and how you feel about the quarterback position moving forward for the Cleveland Browns. What are your thoughts here?
I mean, it's the bleakest that it's been since 2017. I mean, let's be honest. Let's sit back and ask ourselves in the fall of 2018. After this amazing season, I should say, going into the winter of 2018. This amazing season that Baker had. He struggled in 2019, came back in 2020, and brings this city their first playoff win.
Yes,
since 1992, the first time that they've been into the playoffs since 2002. So it was it 92 or 93 the last time that they won a playoff game, or was it?
I thought it was 89. I may be wrong there.
But anyway, so they break the playoff drought. They win the playoff game in Pittsburgh, again against a rival. And Baker Mayfield was the first quarterback to do that since Tim Couch. And the last time Tim Couch played for the Browns was 2003. So, he comes into 2019. I don't even want to talk about the week 2 injury, because to me that was not significant. He popped it back in. He finished that game.
Yeah.
He threw on that brace the first time, It was a little tight. You could tell in the Vikings game there was certain throws that he just couldn't follow through on. They loosened it up. He then played against the Arizona Cardinals in a game where he was missing both of his tackles. I still don't understand as a coach putting your quarterback out there without both starting tackles and then not game plan around it. I mean, I wouldn't even. There comes a point where you're just like, yeah, I get that you want to win, but if somebody's not getting open in 2 seconds, you're just leaving your quarterback there to die. But that's just me. That's the offensive line. Talking. He dislocates it again, breaks his humerus bone, and the team had a decision: gamble or sit him out, call the season a lost cause. They gambled. It did not end up how they wanted to be. Now, granted, there was a slew load of injuries between Baker Mayfield, Kareem Hunt, Jack Conklin, Jed Wills. There's a laundry list. Now, if you include the COVID game, that quadruples, right? So after all that, we come into an offseason where Deshaun Watson is available. Now, is Deshaun Watson arguably a top 5 quarterback? I would say yes.
Yeah, I would agree.
But
I would agree.
He has 26 civil cases against him.
Why?
In an NFL where Ben Roethlisberger had one case, he had 2 cases. I believe one fell through. If I'm wrong, please correct me. But he had 2 incidents. He was suspended 6 games. All Deshaun Watson needs is for one incident to trip up, and in my mind, that's 6 games. I don't think that he plays a full season. To me, Carolina and the Saints kind of seem like they're not in win now mode to me. Because I mean, if that was the case, why wouldn't a team now granted there were some initial interests, but why didn't a team like Seattle go after him?
Yeah.
It's just like you knew he was the gamble from the start, and you go in there, you make your visit on Tuesday, you come back, and this is after Ben Albright already reported that it wasn't Houston that shot them down the first time. It was Deshaun Watson that shot them down, and he has a no trade clause. And the fact that they doubled down, went into the meeting the next day to meet with them. Now they have this report that leaks out. They're looking for more of an adult at quarterback.
Yeah.
Now Baker Mayfield went through 4 head coaches.
Yeah.
He's gone through multiple offenses, gotten in several incidents with the Cleveland media, including some fans. He actually had a media member accuse his family of a Ponzi scheme. Now, as ridiculous as that seems, that's a confirmed real thing. And I have the receipts to prove it.
Yeah.
You had a broadcaster call him a midget on live air.
A midget. Yep.
Baker Mayfield is a good football player. He has not taken any personal shots at him that were not immediately thrown at him first. Now, you could say that that's childish for charging back, but put yourself in his shoes. A guy that played his 2021 season. He's got a cuff on. He's hurting. He's gone through not just the shoulder injury, but he also had nerve damage in his knee and a bone spur in his heel.
Yeah.
His teammates had to pick him up off the field against the Patriots just for him to try and come back out a drive later. Say what you want, but he's a player, and he knew that might have been his last shot to play for Cleveland. So he tried to make the best of it. Now, should have coach pulled him? Absolutely. Mm-hmm. There was just no point. You might as well just called it a lost season, let him heal up, and then just get him ready to go and add your weapons. Because that receiving core was not going anywhere anyway. No. So, but it's really disheartening how the front office handled all this. It's really disheartening that they went through all this trouble and they sullied their name, and they sit here and they want to talk about diversity and women's rights and everything. And they had, now granted, Callie Bronson, huge shout out to her for being the head coach of the women's national team. She's taking full advantage of her opportunity, and she has done extremely well in the NFL. Yeah. But how do you promote her work and you say that you want success for women, but you're actively going for a guy and selling the farm for a guy that has that many cases over him. Meanwhile, absolutely, I mean, that as small as a comment that seems, that comment was everywhere.
Yeah.
ESPN, I mean, everybody's quoting this thing from Moore, whether or not they're even playing the audio. That transcription is, all over Twitter, all over Facebook.
Yeah, it was everywhere.
I mean, you're calling him a child.
Yeah.
And granted, he's not perfect, but it's like, what are you doing? Can you at least wait till if that's how you truly feel about it, and that's what you want to do? Why don't you wait for when he's out the door?
Yeah.
Why are you releasing this? You know what I mean? It's absolutely classless. It's just a dumpster fire overall.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm going to let you guys talk so we can really get into this. But I really want to touch on later that it really looks like, and I mean, the Browns know it because they wanted to. Now, granted, Baker told him to back off, but they reportedly wanted to fly into Texas today to apologize to him in person and say that you know what I mean? And tell him and reassure him that they want him back.
Yeah. And
he turned them down.
Yeah.
If they don't mend that, there's no other option at quarterback that's going to take them to the playoffs. But I'm interested in what you guys have to say.
Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead, Christian. Yeah, comment on that.
So, we've all talked throughout this whole. I mean, we got a group chat and we talk in it quite frequently, and we were all like, why are we doing this? Morality, no, we do not want this guy just because our morals don't align with that. This dude's honestly scum if all this is true. I mean, I know the criminal charges got dropped, but that doesn't mean he didn't do it. But it's kind of sad, because everything that has transpired in the last 48 hours, you go down to Texas, and me and Mac talked about this. I know that we didn't agree with Watson's choices and stuff, but it was about we got to get Watson now. Because if we don't, we've got no other options. Baker's, because the apology thing or the thank you Cleveland thing comes out, and then earlier today, you hear Baker Mayfield has requested a trade, he wants out, and it's just everything that could have went wrong with you going down to Houston has went wrong, and the consensus plan B was Derek Carr, and Derek Carr just got Devontae Adams back.
Yep.
So Derek Carr's not leaving. I mean, I made a joke earlier on Twitter about maybe us getting Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah.
Since that happened, but I mean, we're not going to get Aaron Rodgers. Mm-hmm. So you're now looking at Jimmy G, Jameis Winston.
Yep.
Depending on where
the bottom of the barrel,
and depending on if Watson goes to Atlanta. If he goes there, then Matt Ryan possibly.
Yeah.
Unless something just kind of opens up, maybe you can swoop in and with the Cardinals get Kyler Murray. Yeah. I don't know. It's just you don't know now. It feels like we're at the bottom again.
And that's it's crazy. This is a situation where you're going into this year with so many different quarterbacks on the horizons. You wanted your Browns Twitter wanted their Russell Wilsons. They wanted their Aaron Rodgers, Kirk Cousins, Jimmy G, Derek Carr. All season they said, we want this, we want that, we want this. And it's just frustrating because we're not looking at the reality of the situation. And I don't believe that if we were to look at it from, hey, here are points A, B, and C, and this is what's realistic. If you were to look at it from that point of view, Baker Mayfield has 1 year left on his contract, team friendly, $18.5 million. Why don't we bring him back? He knows he got his surgery. That's what everybody was complaining about. That's what he was complaining about. A little bit beaten up. This whatever. Get the shoulder fixed, torn labrum. Surgery's fixed. He's looking well. Bring in a guy like Amari Cooper. Got Amari Cooper. You have a 13th overall pick. get yourself in a position to bring in a wide receiver to help him out. You got an offensive line, paid Petonio, paid Teller. You're bringing back Jack Conklin. He is going to be healthy from his injury that ended his season. So hopefully Jedrick Wills would come back and be a better version of himself. So you're looking at these situations and you're saying to yourself, okay, we've put Baker in a position to do well in 2022. Like, why would I'm not sure. I don't want to get into all those parts. Was it from Jimmy Haslam? Was it AB or whatever the case may be? Whoever it was it thinking clearly about the repercussions that would happen? That's what's really annoying at this point is like, okay, now you've put yourself between a rock and a hard place because guess what? Baker now, everything, his fate, his name is in the mud, right? So you're going into a situation where, okay, he's upset. You didn't get Deshaun Watson. Now what do? You went from having Baker Mayfield trying to come back and have that underdog mentality and like, hey, as long as my city loves me, I'm going to go out there and put everything on the line for them. But now you're in a situation where it is, oh, man, you guys don't actually want me, right? Even if you did have the conversation that you wanted, like there was reports saying that they did have a conversation with Baker Mayfield after the combine saying we wanted to look at an elite quarterback if there was a chance. That's all we're going to do. But you went down there and flew down there and all this other stuff. So news gets out, and Baker Mayfield, at the end of the day, he's a human being, right? And he is a guy who, if there's anyone who can take this type of heat and come out of it alive, it's Baker Mayfield. But one human can only take so much. And so I think that moving forward, it's going to be very interesting to see how the Cleveland Browns navigate this situation with Baker Mayfield, because really, everybody in the AFC West, they're equipping themselves, they're getting better. We haven't seen too much movement through the AFC North, right? Only Mitchell Trubisky going to the Pittsburgh Steelers, which they have 3 quarterbacks now at that point, Mason Rudolph and Dwayne Haskins, and it looks like they're going to draft a 4th one, and we don't even know if we have our one, right? So it's a little bit like the rich get richer, but honestly, it's going to be interesting to see how we move forward in this situation. So I don't know. Who knows what's going to happen in the future? A lot of things are still going to be shaking out, and I'm just curious. I'm just curious what's going to happen, and I want to ask both of you: Do you believe that there's a chance that this relationship can be mended and we move forward? Do you think that that's something that can happen?
No, I don't think that Baker's going to be back next year. I think there was a chance before we flew down before Haslam, Barry, and Stefanski flew down to Texas. I think that, and then the post. I think that's kind of where they got the adult thing. Right. Because, after the math, it came out that he had, they had spoke about them going and talking to other quarterbacks, possibly. So I think that's where they had it.
I don't mean to cut you off, but
you're good.
Here's what I confirmed. So they did talk to him at the combine, but they didn't tell him that they were going after Deshaun Watson.
Yeah.
On a technical,
on a technicality, they said they're going to go after an elite someone.
Did they say that? Now I'm assuming that Baker didn't think that this team would go after somebody who still has legal cases over his head.
Yeah.
And might even get put, might end up being suspended. I think he was just more hurt by the fact of okay, now granted, whoever said it, and there's a lot of speculation saying that it was Jimmy Haslam, the owner. I personally do think that. I've heard other people in the media, sources that I trust, say that it was Haslam.
Yeah.
But it's just, I'm assuming that was said to him, to his face at some point somewhere.
Yeah.
I don't think that it was just it was a secret that certain person thought about Mayfield that way. Right. But the fact that it came out and then it was on air, and then meanwhile they're chasing this dude, it just
hurts.
I really do think that when he posted it, I thought it was, if this is goodbye. Yeah. But again, that whole comment to where, and it on just at such a basic level, when you just, when you're having conversations and it's just like, I want to find someone who's more an adult.
Yeah.
Now, I'm just saying that to you two. You know what I mean? Now, once it gets out to a reporter, it gets out to a reporter. And reporters are going to take straight from the horse's mouth. He didn't point it on a certain someone, which means that certain someone wants to make it look like a group effort, which is also what my source explained to me. So it looks really bad, and that was just the nail in the coffin here. Now, do I think that this relationship can be mended? I do. And Pete Smith brought this up. David Njoku had requested a trade. Now you got to look at Njoku in his situation. They signed Austin Hooper and paid him a crap ton of money when they did, and then they drafted Harrison Bryant. And even though it was a late 4th round selection, Harrison Bryant was still regarded as like one of the. Now, granted, they saw him as a very skinny prospect, and they said he's more of a wide receiver, but he was still a polarizing kind of guy who played in a small conference. So it was just like you have Austin Hooper, and now you have this rookie coming in. So he initially requested that trade. Now nobody knows. There's no confirmed source out there to what changed David Njoku's mind. Possibly that could have been Andrew Berry.
Yeah. I think that it was where the new offense was coming in because Stefanski was coming in. I think Stefanski was like, you're going to have a different role here. We use 2 tight ends instead of 1, like that was used in the previous year with Freddie Kitchens. And I think that was the thing. But I think where we're keeping the same people in Andrew Berry and Kevin Stefanski, and there's been multiple reports that, Ben Albright said this in a space. He said there was it wasn't a well-known thing at the time. There's a rift between Stefanski and Baker. And I think that that's kind of getting more light since he said that. And you can kind of see, I guess, where that's coming from. But, at the end of the day, Andrew Berry's got a plan. Well, I assume he still has a plan, or hope so anyways.
Right.
But it's just a sad situation. I didn't think Baker would be back next year. I thought we would have the 2022 season with Baker. We've said this numerous times. We're gonna revamp this offense. We're gonna make it where it's nobody's fault but Baker's.
Right.
And now it's Baker's not even gonna be. It just kind of seems that way as of right now. It just kind of seems like Baker's not gonna be here. But it's just, I don't know. It just kind of has that old feeling to it, like the same old Browns.
Yeah. And the worst part about all this is that while they were spending time, and now they're still spending time on the quarterback because they don't know if Baker's actually going to come back and play for them. Nope. But they're missing out on the heart of free agency right now. With them going to talk to Deshaun Watson, they ruined everything. Now, granted, there are some arguments against, the cap doesn't really exist and you can restructure, but you still have to take care of, if you were to trade for Deshaun Watson, you would still have to take on that $40 million and then make it work and then clear additional cap space for that next target. So Deshaun Watson was still that domino that was holding them up.
Yeah.
That domino fell, and now you have Baker Mayfield holding you up because you don't know whether he's going to be back. So you can't pay attention to the free agent market right now and spend the big dollars that you want to, because there are going to be there were until they got picked up. But Zadarius Smith, he backed out. Yeah, he backed out on the Baltimore Ravens, so he's still available. But again, they have Baker Mayfield to deal with. We don't know whether or not where Clowney's at. He's been dead silent, testing the waters.
Yeah.
Von Miller is gone. Chandler Jones is gone. Who knew that Yannick Ngakoue was available on the trade market? Yeah. But again, held up in Deshaun Watson, and it's
who knew Khalil Mack was on the
Browns. Yeah, and the Browns still, now granted, I will talk in circles about Chase Winovich after the film that I've seen on this guy.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And I do think that he can be a possible running mate to Miles. But he is coming off an injury-prone year, and that's a lot asking of a guy, that hasn't played edge rusher, and I mean, that wasn't even like his big, he just doesn't have a lot of reps under his belt because the Pats were using him as like a linebacker hybrid kind of role. But the Browns don't have a running mate for Miles right now, and they don't have a starting defensive tackle.
Yeah. Yeah.
And Pierce, by the way, Michael Pierce, he's gone. Baltimore brought him back.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
It's just
where do you go?
You're getting held up, and then now you're starting to get to a point to where you might need to use those draft picks to get a quarterback, so that way you're still in win now mode. But when you do that, you sacrifice for the team. So they lost out on an opportunity to make a full complete roster. Now, granted, they still have time, and there is a couple good guys that are still left there that you wouldn't necessarily have to pay too much for. Yeah. But it's just the longer that you're held up on this QB and the longer the uncertainty, the less options that you're giving yourself, and you're not giving yourself the opportunity to create a full roster. And that's what's been plaguing the Browns since the last time that they were a halfway, decent team and they went to the playoffs in early 2002, because they put Tim Couch out there and they said, okay, Tim Couch is the problem. Yeah. Even though he was taking on, over 100 sacks in 2 years.
Wow.
It's a
very good point. That's a very good point.
Look at the 49ers. The 49ers had Jimmy G go 9 quarters in the playoffs without throwing a touchdown. If you saw his playoff numbers, which, by the way, threw more interceptions than he did touchdowns, 2 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. He actually has a streak. He has one of the longest streaks in the NFL of throwing an interception in playoff games.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Yeah. Wow.
But they kept winning because they have the better roster. And it's just, and I don't know whether it's just incompetency. I don't know whether the fact that they just haven't been in a place of success before, but just the overall ineptitude to just blindly have such tunnel vision on one player that you're not addressing the immediate needs is just, I'm just baffled by it.
Yeah, well, really and to piggyback off what you're saying, you just brought up a great point that I personally have not thought about, but it's glaring. We have a whole other 51 men on the roster that we have to address, right? Like in this situation, I think you got Fletcher Cox for the Eagles just got released, and it's like you're supposed to re-sign Denzel Ward, and that kind of stopped, right? We were hashtagging re-sign Denzel Ward. We're not doing that anymore. We're talking quarterbacks, and it's like you kind of go into this situation where it's like, man, we got ourselves in mud right now, and we're supposed to be attacking a lot of these guys in free agency, right? So I think it's crazy for me to think about a situation where the front office, what seemingly, I don't know, I'm not in the front office, but from the outside looking in, it's like this situation is, I hate to use the word distraction, but I can't think of anything else, but it really is a distraction.
Yeah. I got a comparison for you. And
Go ahead. Yeah, please. Absolutely.
To me, it seems like the Browns are surviving and not thriving.
Yes.
Instead of the person that's paddling, that's rowing down and actually traveling distance in the water. Yeah. They're trying to just keep their head above it.
Living paycheck to paycheck.
Yes, exactly. And it's just, it's just insane to me. I can't wrap my head around it, because now we would have had a completely different conversation if they would have been in trade talks with like Russell Wilson or or they may have somehow convinced Aaron Rodgers to waive his no trade clause for Cleveland, and they pulled the trigger on it, and we're actually able to get this dude.
Yeah, that's different.
We would have a completely different conversation because, number one, there's no There's no ethics behind it. Number two, there's not any possible suspension. He can 100% play the 17 games. Yeah. But it's just, we put ourselves, and you said it before, between a rock and a hard place. And it's just, there was no win out of this because even if they did pull the trigger on Deshaun Watson, they would have sold the farm. And again, you have all these holes that you need to address. And the longer that we get held up in this quarterback hell that we've been in since Bernie Kosar was let go of the Cleveland Browns, and you can't even, I can't even cite the Baker years as stable anymore because it was just brought with such hatred and controversy within the fan base and the media. I mean, and I'm not trying to go all conspiracy theorists, but there's a lot of people. There's a good chunk of people. Now, I shouldn't say a lot because in the grand scheme of things, it's around 10 to 15. But that 10 to 15 is extremely loud, and they have been voicing nonstop with a lot of those 10 to 15 in very. I don't want to say powerful because this is politics. Yeah. Okay, we're talking sports. But
that's what it feels like, really, honestly.
And in positions to where they just ragged on them all day. And it was now, congratulations. Mm-hmm. We're still in quarterback hell. And when you're in quarterback hell, not only can you not win, but you're so focused on this one position that you can't address anything else. And you don't, it's just, I don't know. It's crazy to me. I mean, if you would have told me August of 2021, hey, this is what we're going to be looking at before going to the draft, I would have told you you're crazy. But here we are.
Yeah, I would have took a bullet for Baker Mayfield this time last year, honestly. I mean, he just brought us to a playoff game or W. We go into Kansas City. We put up a good fight. We lose because our defense was trash. And then Andrew Berry's going out there addressing everything. And looks like we're Super Bowl contenders going into the season in 2021. And, where we're at now is our own fault. That's what it is.
I completely agree. And to be honest with you, even if we were to bring in, a quarterback that is not the intangibles of your Jimmy G's, of your Jameis Winston's, listen, our roster is a good roster, but it's not good enough to just plug and chug another quarterback in there and just say, hey, you're mediocre, but we got guys around you. Let's get you we have Amari Cooper, right? That's fantastic. But even with San Fran, they have George Kittle. You know what I mean? We have a good running game
and a stellar defense.
And a stellar defense. And where our defense is, second half of 2021 was very good. But it's okay, we need to be consistent throughout the whole entire year. I didn't want to say something, Matt. Go ahead.
I touched on this in one of my articles talking about D tackle needs to be addressed. And people when they look at the roster, they say, okay, teams need to have a quarterback. Quarterback needs to throw to somebody. And you can get away with a B-tier running back. Obviously, you got to have a good offensive line, and you got to have corners to cover these wide receivers. Joe Woods runs a 4-2-5, meaning that he's got 4 down linemen, 2 linebackers, 5 DBs. Mm-hmm. Now, since week 9 of last year, the Browns averaged giving up 136 rush yards per game. And that's with Malik Jackson and Malik McDowell, which, by the way, we still don't know what's going on with Malik McDowell. He's still going through his legal issues. There are rumors that it wasn't just some kind of crazy outburst and that he was drugged. Not trying to get into that, but we don't know what he's doing. They did not bring Malik Jackson back because it was 1 year, several million too many, 19 missed tackles. So it needs to be addressed. And now we're not even sure if Clowney's coming back. So now you have Miles, your 2 linebackers, and your 5 really good DBs. Oh, great. You can cover on 3rd down and 10, but
where's the run stop?
I guarantee you, if you don't have those guys up front, they won't even need to get to 3rd down.
Exactly.
I mean, they're just going to run the ball every play, and we're just going to look like that, soft run team that Cleveland usually has.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a very good point. Very good point.
there's a couple good defensive tackles that have hit the market recently. And my boy from the Washington Commanders finally got released. And Matthew Iodinis, or however you want to say it. Andrew Berry needs to be on the phone get this boy an orange and brown uniform for next year. Get Fletcher Cox, get Hakeem Hicks, get everybody, man. We need to have a dominant defense because the way it's looking, man, it's like, I don't know, like the quarterback situation is it's going to be about a mid-tier quarterback. You're going to have low to mid-tier quarterback play next year, and
it's crazy. I want to touch on what you were saying a little bit about the defensive line, but just to double back, we were not supposed to. The Browns, they were not supposed to be worrying about this. Yeah, who's under center, right? That was not supposed to be. Well, on the surface, it looked that way, and I kind of believe that. It was supposed to be very stable going into 2022. Get the surgery. We'll bounce. You have 1 year left on your deal. Like play that 1 year out. But and we should be able to. They should have been able to worry about guys like Matt Ioannidis, and who is a monster. 6'3", 310 pounds, 38 combined tackles from Temple University. So I know my wife will like that. She's from Temple, but so I think I think she went to Temple. But so I think it would be a guy like that, and Akeem Hicks, or even if you wanted to go offer some leadership for Fletcher Cox, you could. He's a little bit older, but he's a producing very well at defensive tackle for the Philadelphia Eagles. So it's like, I don't know, but if I were Andrew Berry, I would focus if you could. I mean, obviously, now that everything is out in the open, it's kind of like you're trying to save face here and trying to the ship's leaking a little bit, I believe, and you're going to have to try to save face here somehow, some way. Try to figure out who you can get at quarterback because, honestly, a lot of people want to say Baker's just requested this trade because it's like a whole situation of, hey, I'm not fired, I quit kind of ordeal, but whatever the case may be, I think that you should try your absolute best. Everything you gave to Deshaun Watson to try to get him to come here, do the same thing with Baker Mayfield. Say, please, can you come back for one more year? I hate to, I don't know. I'm not the type of, but I just think he's the best available with quotes around it. Right. Mm-hmm. You don't want him to request a trade or obviously, really, he's under contract. Right. So the Browns really don't have to do anything. I don't know the ramifications. I don't know if you guys want to speak on that. I don't know if you either know. I don't know if you can sit out like you can in the NBA or whatever the case may be. I
believe the franchise tag, or I'm not sorry.
The team option.
The 5th-year team option. I'm not sure whether or not it's guaranteed.
Okay.
Well, they can that up here. Which they can fine him like for every time he don't show up.
Yeah. So
they can do that.
Absolutely. Yeah. So if that's the case, then I think that I believe that Baker Mayfield wouldn't do that. I don't think me personally in my head. I think he knows that he is not a Aaron Rodgers type of guy who is, hey, I can sit out all year and everybody knows how I'm going to handle it if I come back next year if I'm on your
guaranteed team. For injury only.
Guaranteed for injury only.
So if he sat out, he would not make his money. He has to play to make his money.
He would have to play to make his money right there, right there. Thank you. Because that right there now solidifies it for me that if the Browns don't want to trade him, don't trade him. Because I guarantee you he'll play. You know what I mean?
It was like minutes after like you saw the news. It was like, Baker's went out.
It was denied.
It was like, the Browns told him no.
The front office is like, absolutely not, because we know, one, if you want to make money, you're going to play, and two, like if you sit out, you're not going to make money. So when you play, and we know when you play, you're going to play your heart out, because guess what? Yeah. You're a free agent after that, unrestricted. So teams are going to want to see that you could still perform. And on top of all that, we're going to do everything we possibly can to, albeit all this stuff is coming out right before the draft, which is a little bit great because we'll get to, in a month, we'll have a little bit of a breather because we can get some stud wide receivers in here, hopefully. But we're going to give you everything you possibly need. So if you don't succeed in this situation, and if you don't play well, then hey, it's like, so I think it's again, it goes back to a win-win for Cleveland, really.
Yeah, honestly, I don't know. Like, the only people I can realistically think in my mind after the Devontae Adams trade that could come to Cleveland is Jimmy G and Jameis Winston.
Yeah.
And, I really do not want to watch Jimmy Garoppolo throwing a football in Cleveland. Like, I mean, if it happens, I'll root for it. I'm a Browns fan. I watched Deshaun Kaiser for like whatever, how many games he played.
What Jimmy G is going to look like. Healthy Jimmy G is just injured Baker Mayfield. I mean, you look at their two seasons this year.
See, I think he looks
interceptions, 12 interceptions. Like, it's just, and it's not even like there's no brace on him. There's no restriction. It was, I think it was, what's his name? Ed Greenberg. Ed Greenberg. Yeah. So he posted a video of all of Jimmy Garoppolo's 13 interceptions for the 2021 season, and it almost looked like he was throwing straight at the defender. I mean, it's pretty bad, and I can imagine that it's going to be the same thing in Cleveland. Now, granted, Amari Cooper is extremely talented, but the Browns' weapons on offense do not equate to Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, and George Kittle. So you're not going to get that good of a Jimmy G that you saw in San Francisco. And you're telling me that what you saw of Jimmy Garoppolo is what you're telling me now the peak? I don't want any part of that. I really don't. So to me, it's the Browns need to approach Mayfield and they need to say, hey, what keeps you here? Because in all reality, this is also Baker's best case scenario, because when he's traded, he can't control his situation. I mean, a team could pick him up and view him as a bridge quarterback, and no matter what he does, they won't hang on to him.
Yeah.
He goes into Cleveland, and there is so many reasons to believe that he can at least put out a decent season. Maybe he doesn't have as good as a season as that 14-game stretch that he had between 2020 up into those 2 games of 2021 before the shoulder cuff. Even if he just played a little bit less than that, he's going to get paid in this National Football League, because that was somewhere. Even if he's a top 15 quarterback. So if he's healthy in Cleveland, worst case scenario, he gets the franchise tag, which is, by the way, the average of the top 5 salaries.
Yep.
Yeah, top 5 quarterback salaries. So you're going to get 1 year fully guaranteed of that. Worst case scenario. Best case scenario, you go into free agent and you're the hottest name of that year, because now imagine, so picture yourself right now. Look at Baker's 2020 season. Imagine if he was a free agent that year after after a pretty good season. Browns somehow can't resign him after all of that. He hits the free agent market. How huge would that be? And just in terms of that, like think about I can't even remember, like, obviously not as big as like Peyton Manning or like Tom Brady, but he would
have got the bag. He would have got the bag in free agents.
Gotten paid, and
would have gotten paid.
They need to literally sit down and just say, hey, this is the best case scenario for us. This is the best case scenario for you. Like, let's figure this out. Like, sorry for insulting you, but, we need to see this out of you. Can we somehow get to a deal? Because, again, if they let Baker walk, okay, so let's go over some options here. Do we participate in picking up Matt Ryan if he's available? He's 37. He's also a statue, good enough to where you might get first round of the playoffs, but not good enough to, contend for a championship, but also not bad enough to get a good draft position. Same with pretty much every single quarterback that you're going to choose that's not Baker Mayfield at this point, unless there's some magical trade, that somehow transpires within the next, couple days. But to me, if they don't get Baker, and there's absolutely no reason that he can't come back there, to me, I would try to get a bridge guy and then just draft a quarterback and just pray to God that it all works out. Because, and you know what not a lot of people are thinking about right now, because they're thinking about the quarterback position. But if Kevin Stefanski misses the playoffs for the second time in a row, I mean, Jimmy Haslam's already acting sporadic. He's already doing these crazy moves and going after Deshaun Watson. What's to say if Kevin Stefanski and Andrew Berry miss the playoffs? What's to say that he doesn't fire him right on the spot?
Yeah, because it seems like a Haslam thing to do. Honestly, I mean,
you could look at it and just say, hey, you didn't pitch hard enough to Deshaun Watson, and you missed out on the playoffs the next year. I need to look for somebody else. So
yeah. I think you wanted to. I'll let you go, Christian. I think you wanted to say something.
Yeah.
Or go ahead, Mac. Where you go? Where you go?
Christian.
Go ahead.
I mean, best case scenario, like the Browns make up with Baker, and you just, like we've been saying on the podcast, you ride it out with Baker next year. You play it out. You put all the weapons around him. You get everything situated where it's just if we don't make the playoffs, it's on Baker. Kind of like one of them situations.
Yeah.
But, if we can't get Baker back on board, he's just like, you know what? Screw you guys. I want out. The only option I think that could work is Jameis Winston. I know that's weird. No. I think we could get him for an affordable price. We wouldn't have to give up picks, which is awesome. We could get the good receivers in the draft at 13, maybe move up however we want to go that route. But, last year, after the LASIK surgery, he didn't have a bad start.
Not at all.
He played 4 games. Well, 4 in like a quarter game. And he had 14 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, 1,170 yards.
Yeah.
Baker Mayfield had 17 touchdowns the entire season. He only missed 2 games. Or was it 3? He missed 3 games. So, I mean, the touchdown to game ratio, Jameis, I don't know if that equates to just the scheme, but, Baker had the receivers a little bit better, I'd say, than Winston had with Jarvis and Odell. I mean, I don't want to talk about Odell Beckham, but, he's better than anything Winston had last year, because Winston didn't have Michael Thomas. So, that's kind of how I feel about it.
I think one. I do want to touch on one thing Max said, and if Baker does ball out and you have to bring him back for this franchise tag, I know that he thinks that. I mean, like people. I know a lot of players don't like the franchise tag because it gives you place for uncertainty, right? But would you like to know the average salary, like what he would be making on the franchise tag? That is $40.4 million. So for 1 year, franchise year. So because you're talking about Patrick Mahomes' salary and Russell Wilson's salary, but so I think that he would be like, oh darn, but I think if you're looking also back to your point, Christian, if you're looking about at the Saints schedule and I don't know. I think for me it's one of those things where I like it. Obviously, it's just. If you can't get your hands on Baker Mayfield, right? If you can't bring him in, obviously that's the caveat to the whole situation, because really what you're looking at is Jimmy G or Jameis Winston. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, guys. I don't know if there's anybody else that you would possibly think about, because David Carr, again, like we were already
buddy, Aaron Rodgers is available now.
Aaron Rodgers. You got A-Rod. I don't know. You know what I mean? Hey, who knows? Who knows about that situation? But it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out when it comes again, there's so many moving parts to this situation, and I don't know. I think Winston, me personally, I agree with that. But Mac, it looked like you wanted to say something. I don't know if you want to say something, but
it's just, I can't. I just think about it, and I cannot think of an option on the top of my head, that would result in something, and it just sucks, because here's the thing too, you go into a draft class to where even if you had the top 3 picks, there's no sure answer whatsoever. And I mean, we talked about it the last podcast. There was no team that outright tanked this year. And there's also the name Mitchell Trubisky was a hot commodity in the free agent market. So like what, what I mean? Like what is that?
Good point.
So,
good point.
I mean, he's the greatest quarterback ever. I mean, of course he's going to be the hottest commodity.
According to people who live in Mentor, Ohio, yes, he is the best.
We got Mitchburg Steelers.
Yeah, and it's just, I think the worst part about all this, the truly worst part, because I keep saying, here's the worst part, but I've told you guys this. I went to college in Western PA, and I have old teammates and old roommates, that are Steelers fans. I have cousins that are Steelers fans, and everybody was texting me. And you know what the crazy thing about it is? They're on Baker's side.
Yeah.
If we were to pick sides in this absolute crap storm. Yeah. But, it's just, it's crazy how this all planned out. It's crazy the kind of guy that they took this gamble for. And what I'm wondering, why didn't they? So they went into this and they said, okay, Deshaun Watson's available. He's our guy. We need to go get him. There had to be some kind of thought in the back of their mind. Okay, once Baker hears about this, he's probably going to want traded, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So, and there's also been I can't say that they're confirmed reports, but there has been speculation that they did this to rip the Band-Aid off because they do not see Baker Mayfield as a future starter. So why don't you just trade him off the bat?
Yeah.
And start you make your move right away. You do some kind of swap, or you get picks ahead of time, or you clear that cap ahead of time, so that way you have more money to spend. And it's just it's crazy the whole timing of this, because they in my mind, if they were to do this, they might as well just traded Baker and then tried to make that swap early, just so that way they have a little bit more time to kind of get their stuff together. Because again, I mean, we're reaching now I know it seems, because this is still the first week of free agency, but that clock keeps on ticking. And as those seconds go by, more moves are made, more conversations are made. Now, granted, if we knew that Baker wasn't going to be back, next year, we could have made a move for Derek Carr.
Yeah.
For a guy that we know that's going to play 17 games next year.
Yeah.
To make the move for Deshaun Watson, to not have the Baker plan in trade, and then now to come back and shut down his trade request. It's just like, now granted, there are people saying that, they did that so they can control the trade. But really, I mean, that he wants to go, and people know that you're shopping him. So there goes all your value. You really think that right now, during all this, you're going to get a first-round pick for Baker Mayfield after you pretty much called him a child? And that it echoed through the broadcasting waves and all over Twitter. And, and it's just, they've constantly just put themselves in the back corner and just expected them to just be able to fight it out. And it blew up right in their face. And again, as it goes by, they're losing out on a chance to fix this, because not only do they need to fix this, but they also need to fix it quickly. Because like I said before, the more this looms over, the more they can't focus on the rest of their team. And you need all 11 guys on offense, defense, and special teams. When you're so hung up on the quarterback to the point where you're not addressing those other needs and getting that fixed, Lord knows what's going to happen. And I don't even know if we're going to. Now, people think that 2021 was a mess. I can only imagine what next year is going to look like if they don't figure this out quickly.
Oh, wow. Yeah, it's going to be crazy. That's for sure. That's for sure.
Yeah, it's going to be wild.
There are silver linings here, just to kind of steer off the negativity that is the, quarterback position. the more that I look into the tape of Chase Winovich, the more I'm almost being able to convince myself that the Browns might have a guy that this might be the long-term solution to pair with Miles. I really do think that they can develop this guy. High motor, plays very well around the line of scrimmage. Now you look at him and he doesn't have that great get off. There's a lot of times where we look at edge rushers and we look at speed. Okay. What's the quickest that they can get 5 yards deep in the backfield? They're, they put their foot in the ground. Let's see how fast that they can get upfield. This guy doesn't have a lot of burst, but his hand placement and his rip move and the ability to quickly get up under the arms and the shoulder pads of offensive linemen is nuts to me. And he's a very smart player in his rushes. When he gets too deep, he's always working back. Meaning, to put it in simpler terms, he's very good at QB contain. There's a lot of tape of him working back to the quarterback when he gets too deep. That's a huge problem that I saw with Clowney a lot of times last year. He would just get way too far upfield, and the next thing you know, the quarterback is running through the middle of the pocket because it's wide open. So, there are good signings that have happened. They're good, very team friendly things that have happened in free agency. The Amari Cooper deal, it looks good. So, considering what Devontae Adams just got paid. So it's just I'm interested to what you guys think about like the situations outside of quarterback and what we're going to be looking at come the draft.
I think we're fine, honestly. I just started thinking about this. The quarterback situation. I think we're kind of in that San Francisco thing where we can just plug in a quarterback. Not like plug in a quarterback, but get a guy with a little bit of experience. You just rely more on the run game. You give Nick Chubb the ball. You get a healthy Kareem Hunt back. I think we're all missing and forgetting about that impact Kareem Hunt had. We get him back. We're running with two horses out there. And then you got Dearness Johnson, the third. He's the third running back. We got these horses back there, And then you got Amari Cooper. DPJ's coming along. We got him back in the wide receiver 2 role.
DPJ.
We're obviously, I still think we're going to draft a wide receiver at 13 if we keep the pick. Who knows what we're going to do. Only Andrew Berry, Kevin Stefanski, and the Browns front office know that. But, we addressed the holes on the defense. The defense did amazing last year. The only person we're really losing secondary-wise is Ronnie Harrison. Get another year in that Joe Woods defense. I'm just low-key. I just want to see how they address this quarterback situation. But I think everything outside of that's just fine. Yeah. Because last year, that's what it kind of pointed to, which, we had a couple extra plays. We have a kicker. We need to get that kicker. I don't know why we have not addressed that. It still pisses me off. We do not have a kicker on the roster. But, I totally agree. We do need to get a kicker, and I just want to circle back to really quick what Mac was talking about for Chase Winovich. We traded Mac Wilson to the New England Patriots for Chase Winovich, so no more Mac Wilson on the Cleveland Browns. So that's a little bit, hey, he was live on Twitter. I'll say that. He was on Twitter. So, we got to interact with him on Twitter. But, Chase Winovich is in the 2019 NFL draft. There was only 4 edge players to run for a sub 4.640, and Chase Winovich was one of them. So he's one of your faster edge guys, and he could play on the line. He could really help out Myles Garrett, just like Mike was saying. I do want to talk about the kickers. Obviously, I'm not sure if we're going to approach that. Kicker and punter, really, because we had Dustin Colquitt, which we saw a lot of him at the end of the season, which I personally liked him. So I don't know if we're going to move forward with him or not, but we just need a reliable kicker. I've said that over and over again on this podcast, and I've said it over again on Twitter. We have the worst kicker in our division, and which is not saying much considering our division has which I believe has
3 of the top 5 kickers in the NFL, which is insane. But it's just one of those things where if you have a tough division when it comes to football, we all know each other. We always play hard on the defensive end. So games are won and lost for an average in the NFL of 3 points. So it's like you might want to have your kicker. Obviously, was that we went for it on 4th down a lot early in the season? Was that because we didn't have faith in Chase McLaughlin or whatever the case may be? But Chase McLaughlin, in the beginning, I thought he was our answer, right? You know, he made a lot of field goals and things like that. But it just once that weather broke in Cleveland, it was downhill from there, right? And it got honestly, it was really about that blocked field goal attempt, and I think that just kind of got into the psyche of his brain. But kicker is very important. Other than quarterback, the uncertainty there, I think that we should. I'm not sure if we're still going to go. We talked about this last time on the podcast. I'm not sure if we're going to go after another wide receiver. I don't know via free agency, or we're going to focus that more toward the draft. But those questions need to be answered. Also, I would like a backup tight end. But other than that, I really do agree with Christian. I think that I would like to see what Jadeveon Clowney is about, what if he wants to move forward with the Browns or not. But you know him; he's all about his money. But other than that, I think we're a pretty well-rounded team, and I don't see the AFC North right now acting like the AFC West, where everybody's just an arms race and getting so much better. And so I don't see the Cincinnati Bengals doing anything that's making any splashes on the offensive line with any huge big names. So I have to double check on that. But so far, so good. But I think that all 4 of these teams are going to be looking to the draft to in our division, going to be looking to the draft to fix some of the holes that they have. So it's a good year to do it for wide receivers. And I'm very optimistic. However, the outlook may look right now with the quarterback position, but I really do believe that they mend their relationship, Baker Mayfield and the front office, and move forward with that. So those are my views for sure.
Yeah, and hopefully next time we do a podcast, we got good news. It's happy. We're ready to turn up.
Put it in the universe right now. The next time we do a podcast, we will be in better mood. It will not sound like somber today. Our dog.
Yeah, just had my candles lit over here.
Like, we're gonna put on some nice music. Have some nice ambiance, and like just not sound like it's just a total cesspool that we're.
And you're gonna hear me screaming Super Bowl, Super Browns. Like I want to be on that level again, But let's end the podcast on a good note. Who is one free agent signing you see the Browns making? Like not like ASAP, but like just within the next week.
I believe I would not be surprised if they go after a Fletcher Cox. He's a big guy in the middle. He's a veteran on the defensive in the defense interior. I think that will help out a hole, because I don't know if they want to really go in the draft and get an interior defensive player. I don't see that. I think they want to really focus on the wide receiver, especially depending on how the quarterback works out. I don't know if they're going to package some of those earlier picks for a different quarterback, but I truly believe that they go after Fletcher Cox, and I would not mind. So Fletcher Cox is my guy. He's a little bit older, but he can definitely lead in the middle, and he's still a force to be reckoned with. So. Cold weather guy as well, and playing with the Eagles for a while. So Fletcher Cox is the name that I would watch out for.
How about you, Mac?
It's just like I would. I mean, like, who is left at this point in terms of like the tackles? True. I'm scrolling down the big board, and there's not even now. You have Akeem Nicks now. He's still like he's up there in age. Now, do I think he's still got some gas in the tank? Absolutely. I mean, you don't know until you don't see it.
Yeah. So, is it Darius Smith?
Now, if they can finally here's the thing with Zadarius Smith. I know he's going to cost you some money, and you just need to figure out quarterback, just because I mean that's just too much money to be able to process. They don't have the salary cap right now. True. But obviously, they want now. Let's just say hypothetically, they get the quarterback situation figured out, and they finally have some money in their pocket, and they can go get somebody. I would definitely say Zadarius Smith. I mean, a guy that had over 40 plus pressures last year. not last year, in 2020 for the Green Bay Packers. I mean, he haunted the Browns for years when he played the Baltimore Ravens. So, you know, you have a guy that's like that screaming across the edge, and then you pair it with Winovich. I mean, you can put now. Here's the crazy part about it, dude. Let me pitch you this. So you have Zadarius Smith on one edge, you have Chase Winovich on the other edge, and then right next to Chase Winovich, Myles Garrett.
Wow.
And
wow.
I remember fully that there was a lot of situations earlier in Miles's career, like when he was a rookie, when he was in his like second year, where they would put him inside, and he is too quick to be going up against, you know what I mean? And he could just blow right past them. So it would be interesting to me for them to go after a target like him. Now, again, I mean, they just got to get that. We just keep coming to the quarterback, and it's crazy. But I would say, you know, either a guy like Fletcher Cox, you know, Akeem Hicks, or Zadarius Smith. Definitely somebody, you know, on the front four.
Imagine Zadarius Smith flakes on the Ravens to come to the Browns.
Wow.
Oh man, that'd be a big troll job. That'd be the biggest troll job ever. But, you know, I think the one guy I think the Browns should target, I don't even know if it's a smart move, but I just love the guy, Julio Jones.
Julio.
I think it would be a smart veteran signing. You get more veteran presence. You throw him on the other side.
33 years old.
Yeah.
You're veteran presence.
You throw him out there, man. He's still got the name. He's like, I mean, people's like, oh my God, that's Julio. So he'd still be a distraction for the defense. He could coach up DPJ. DPJ becomes just absolute hoss because they're kind of built similar. I'd say they're about the same height. So, you know, why not?
We'll see. I honestly, I think that's not a bad idea at all. You know what I mean? He is a little bit older, but I honestly don't mind having Julio Jones. I'm not gonna not say.
I'd cop the jersey, bro.
So we'll see. As long as it's all about the money, man. It's all about the green. So we'll see what these guys do.
Yeah, and I think that's a wrap on the episode.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Great one, guys. A little somber, but you know.
Yeah, you gotta have them sometimes.
You know, it was good to just, you know, it felt like Festivus, right? You know, the Seinfeld episode where we're just airing out our grievances, and now we feel a little bit better. Yeah. So it's just, you know, next time we're gonna come in with good news, some positivity, and you know, we're gonna be ready to, you know, be screaming Super Bowl, Super Browns.
Oh yeah, all the time, and go Browns,
go Browns.
I'm loving the sound, ready for steel, ready to rave, ready for fall, ready to bang. See us, we coming, we styling, we locking, we passing, we running, we touching it down. Cleveland the city, we good, we did it, we been through the gritty, we loving the Browns. Never will chill, never will lounge. We are the dogs, we are the hounds, never the fierce, we blew and we bleeding. So get on your feet, cause we are the Browns.